Hello and welcome, and I'll set a motivation. We take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha is the teacher. The Dharma is the path. And the Sangha helps to guide us along the path. Refuge is protection, it's safety. What do we need protection and safety from? Refuge in the lower realms, the three poisonous attitudes, our own minds, the suffering that we see all around us. Every action that we do produces a result. If we want a good result that will lead us to a rebirth, not in the lower realms, but in the fortunate realms, then we should only do positive actions. The Buddha looked into his mind and looked at all of his previous lives and saw which actions lead to a fortunate rebirth. He told his disciples what those actions were, what is to be practiced and what is to be discarded. They in turn told their disciples, who told their disciples, and so on, until that information is now being told to us by our teachers. That information is the Dharma, the path that will lead us to a fortunate rebirth, the path that will lead us out of suffering. The Sangha are the people that have those teachings and give them to us. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the three jewels. They are what we need to protect us as we proceed along the path. But if we do not see the need, then we will not search for protection and refuge. We need to remember that most of our actions in this life are influenced by the 8 worldly concerns. I don't know about you, but this tends to make me uneasy, because I recognize the truth in it, especially that reputation one. That's the sneaky one. These actions that we do cause the suffering that we experience, both now and in the future. There's a lot of suffering in this world. You only have to look at the news to know this. The only way to stop the suffering, our own and every other sentient being's, is to follow the path of the Dharma that the Buddha taught. By doing this, we start to get rid of our negative qualities, eventually becoming awakened, not only for ourselves, but so that we too have the knowledge and wisdom and skillful means to help all sentient beings. But we don't just look outside for refuge. We also have to look inside. The first inner refuge is our Buddha nature, the potential that each one of us has to become a Buddha in this very moment, to get rid of all of our negative qualities, just as all the past Buddhas have done. The second inner refuge is our intelligence to learn and understand the Dharma, and our desire to follow the path of the Dharma. The third inner refuge is our faith in our teachers, and our trust that they have the wisdom and desire to lead us out of suffering, and that their only wish is for all sentient beings to be free of suffering. We have all these refuges and protections, but unless we use them, they won't do us any good. We have to bring into our practice the teachings of the Buddha and all of our teachers. We have to work on all of the actions of our body, speech, and mind. We ourselves have to follow the Dharma. That's why we are here. That's why we seek refuge, so that we may become awakened as soon as possible for the sake of all sentient beings. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'll take refuge in Tara for about the next hour or so while we do these teachings. Okay. So, at the beginning of these teachings, Venerable Chodron said, why do low-reg? The purpose is to understand how our mind works, to help us to be able to discern what is a reliable cognizer, because this is very essential on the path. By conscientiously cultivating reliable ones and applying antidotes to unreliable ones, we will be able to progress along the path to full awakening and increase our ability to be of the greatest benefit to all sentient beings, as well as decrease our heedless actions to the suffering of ourselves and others. Okay, so we're going to start with the 7 facsimiles. Okay, I went to the dictionary and I looked up what exactly a facsimile was. It says an exact copy or reproduction, make similar, duplicate. In this case, it means we're not really sure. We often get confused between what a direct perceiver is and what a conception is. So all of these 7 types of facsimiles are direct perceivers, and they are from Dignana's Compendium of Crime Cognitions. So what are the 7 facsimiles? Mistaken. Okay. It's one of them. There's 6 more. Consciousness. Inference. Memory.
Conceptual mind arising from inference.
Conception of mind arisen from inference. Yes. Wishing. And
messed up sight.
dimness of sight. Okay. Which one of these is not a conception?
The last one.
So the other ones are. So now I'm going to take a page from Venerable Tarpa's book, and I'm going to give you the definition, and you give me which one it is.
Oh, good.
So, a thought of an incident that happened in the past. It's not happening now. Vitreous floaters.
Dimness of sight.
Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Mistaken conception.
Okay. Memory induced by inference.
Conception arisen from inference.
Conception of mind arisen from influence. Daydreaming.
Wish conception.
Okay. A type of conceptual consciousness that knows its object by means of a reason or a sign.
Inference.
Try again.
Conventional consciousness.
Conventional consciousness. It is an inference. Okay. And it is a mind that is apprehending the sign and is about to realize an inference. What is that?
Inferential conception.
It's an inferential conception. Now, of those 2, which one was an inference and which one was not an inference?
The conventional consciousness was the inference. The one called inferential conception is not the actual inference.
There you go. Yes. Did we get all of them?
What's the definition of inference?
Inference. It is a mind that is apprehending the sign and is about to realize the inference. It is not an inference. Hey. Okay. So on that inferential conception, it says it is a mind that is apprehending the sign. It knows the 3 criteria. What are the 3 criteria, and what that makes an inference valid?
The sign agrees with the reason. The subject.
The subject agrees with the reason. That's the first one. What's the second one?
If it's the reason, it's the predicate.
If it's the reason, it's necessarily the predicate. And the third one?
Counterprovision, if it's not a predicate, it's not the reason.
Counterprovision. If it's not the reason, it's not the predicate. If it's not the predicate, it's not the reason. I don't see any difference if you want the truth. But I'm sure there is, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, so, good. Next question. What is a prime sense direct perceiver of a familiar object?
First time you look at this gone.
A little bit more. Of a familiar object. She was very, very specific in this.
I consciousness of the son recognizing the form of the father, for example.
Maybe. Just a little bit more.
Are you wanting an example or you want a definition?
The definition of a familiar object.
It can identify a well-known object without the need for another consciousness.
Yes, it doesn't need any other consciousness to identify its object. The example of this is a baby who doesn't have labels and yet knows its parents just from an auditory direct sense perception or a visual sense perception. Or, chocolate chip cookies from your gustatory sense perception. Can anybody think of any others? Just a question.
Well, what about rubies? The one about the sun recognizing the father?
Yeah,
That was-
Yeah.
that's totally
Yeah. Okay. And the next one is, what is an initial direct perceiver? And she was very specific about this one too.
must be meeting an object for the first time. I couldn't find this.
An example? Your
Sure.
direct perception of emptiness?
That wasn't in there.
Oh.
You're way ahead of me here.
So what, I couldn't find initial.
An unmistaken knower that is free from conception?
No. Okay. What she said was, you can generally identify the object, but you need more information in order to be more specific to make the identification of that object. The example was, when you meet Harry, you don't realize it's Harry until someone later tells you, oh, that's Harry. That was it. Yeah. It was an initial direct perception.
Okay.
You generally need more information to make a more specific identification of the object. When you have more information, then you can know that object. Okay. Good. Okay, so we're going to go on to direct perceivers. A direct perceiver is an unmistaken knower that is free from conceptuality. The Satantrikas and the Prasangikas translate pra, as in pramana, differently. How do they each translate it, and why is it important to what we are studying? That's a question.
Run it by us again.
New is this,
The Satantrika and the Prasangika translate pra differently, as in the word pramana, but however, pramana. How do they each translate it, and why is it important to this teaching?
okay, so Tantrika translate pra as new.
Yes.
Prasangika translated as main.
Yes.
And so for the,
Why is it important?
I don't know if you want to repeat that.
Okay.
So it's important in the sense of what is a prime cognizer. So for Satantrika, it has to be a new first moment. First moment. For the Prasangika, that's not the case.
Doesn't have to be a first moment.
Satantrika, pra means first and is translated as prime, the first moment of mind that realizes its object by its own power, not through the force of a previous reliable cognizer that induces it. The second moment is a subsequent cognizer. To the Prasangika, pra means main, which means it comprehends its main object. To be a reliable cognizer, it doesn't have to be the first moment. So, a directly perceiving reliable cognizer is new, incontrovertible, and unmistaken knower. Now I'm going to give you a definition. You tell me which of those words, new, incontrovertible, or unmistaken, that it is. Free of conception.
Unmistaken.
It's unmistaken. First moment.
No.
New. It has eliminated superimpositions on its object. It realizes its object. It's gotten at and ascertains its object. Incontrovertible. True or false? Not all reliable cognizers are direct perceiving ones.
True.
True. True or false? Not all direct perceivers are reliable cognizers. True. Okay. Reliable cognizers and prime cognition mean the same thing. There are two types. What are they? Mean the same thing. There are two types.
Sense of, what do you call it?
Yeah, sense
Conceptual,
Conceptual and
non-conceptual.
They're a little bit more specific. Reliable cognizer, there's two types. What are they?
Inference,
Inference and
Sense direct perceiving.
direct perceiver.
direct perceiving.
Yep.
Direct perceiving.
Just direct.
Just direct perceiver is what it says. Yep. Okay, we're doing pretty good, actually. Come on now. What are the four types of direct perceivers?
sense,
Sense,
mental,
mental,
perception,
apperception, and yogic. What's the definition of a sense direct perceiver?
Non-mistaken, non-conceptual, nor that is produced from its own uncommon empowering.
Yes. What's the definition of a mental direct perceiver?
Pardon?
What's the definition of a mental direct perceiver?
Is the same as that it uses its mental.
Mental sense power, yes. Okay, what's the definition of an apperceptive?
It's the non-conceptual, unmistaken knower that apprehends the apprehender, or recognizes the consciousness that is apprehending an object.
That which is non-conceptual, unmistaken consciousness and has the aspect of an apprehender.
That's one of those funky ones.
Yeah. Do you know what the next question is?
So the yogic perception.
What's the definition of a yogic direct perception perceiver?
The non-conceptual, mistaken, exalted knower of the continuum of an Ari that is produced from a meditative stabilization, that is a union of serenity and insight, that has become its own uncommon empowering condition.
Yes, exactly. Don't worry, we'll come back to those. Okay, sense direct perceivers are divided how? Stop cheating. There's 5 of them. What are they? Eye,
Visual,
visual,
auditory, gustatory, tactile.
exactly.
Olfactory.
Those apprehending forms, sounds, odors, tastes, and tactile objects. So, yes, absolutely. What is an uncommon empowering condition for the 5 sense direct perceivers?
It's sense.
Yeah.
The observed object.
No, what is an uncommon empowering condition in the 5 sense for the 5 sense direct perceivers?
Each of its sense powers is its uncommon empowering condition.
I don't know what they are.
They are the ones that empower the consciousness to know the object, make the consciousness come into being. It's the subtle materials in each of the organs. So, yeah. Cool. Okay. So remember, this is a quiz, so we're doing a quiz.
You're doing good.
Okay.
Have you had more questions?
Credible consultant's got her own list.
Yeah, you've had more questions.
Yeah.
Kind of had to.
She's the one who wrote the questions in the first place.
I was so impressed by what she did last week. It was like, wait a minute, now I got to do it? Okay. What are the 3 conditions necessary for a direct perception? We covered it last week. We're going to cover it a couple more times.
The object? Yeah,
The observed object condition.
The observed object condition, yes.
Empowering sense.
Uncommon empowering.
The uncommon sense power and,
the immediately preceding moment of consciousness.
okay. And what's important there is the object has to appear to that mind, and that mind has to be produced independence upon it. Okay. What is a mental sense power that is going to cause a mental direct perceiver?
The mental power.
And then
Is that the one?
Clairvoyance.
Did you answer your question?
Of those three that we just went over, which one of those is going to cause it? Cause the mental sense power?
The first one, the immediate.
The immediately preceding cause, yes. The previous moment of consciousness of any of the consciousnesses.
Can you ask that question again? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
What is a mental sense power? And when Venerable originally did the teaching, you questioned that mental sense power word.
Right.
That is going to cause a mental direct perceiver. And it's the previous moment of the consciousness. Okay. When mental direct perceivers are divided in two, what are they?
Not,
This was one of the questions that was on the quiz that was handed out. Come on now.
not indicated on this occasion, and not indicated on this.
Yes. Okay. Those indicated on this occasion and those not indicated on this occasion. Those that are indicated on this occasion refers to the occasion where consciousness of forms are divided into two types. Those depending on the eye and the mind. Who does this apply to?
Ordinary beings.
Ordinary beings, yes. You and me.
Yeah, yogis.
Ordinary folks.
So it's a non-conceptual, unmistaken other knower indicated on this occasion that arises from its own uncommering and powering condition, a mental sense power, which is any of the other five sense consciousnesses. Other knower means that it knows an object other than itself. This differentiates it from an apperceptive direct perceiver, a self-knower, and they know the consciousness of which they are a part of. Is everybody clear? Crystal. Okay, when those indicated on this occasion are divided, there are five. What are they?
Not indicated on this occasion.
When those indicated on this occasion, there are five. What are they?
Visual sense consciousness.
Yep, those that apprehend form, sound, odor, taste, tangible objects. Okay. With respect to how mental direct perceivers indicated on this occasion are produced, there are three assertions. What are they? This was a question that was on the quiz.
Alternating production.
Alternating production,
Production of three types.
yep,
Simultaneous.
and,
Only at the end of a continuum.
right. Which of these theories is considered to be correct by Tsongkhapa?
And then at the end of the continuum.
Production only at the end of the continuum. Okay, so in alternating production, the first moment of a sense direct perceiver apprehending a form is produced. Subsequently, the first moment of a mental direct perceiver apprehending the form is produced. Subsequently, the second moment of the sense direct perceiver apprehending the form is produced. Then the second moment of a mental direct perceiver is produced. They go back and forth between a sense direct perceiver and a mental direct perceiver. Why is this rejected?
Because it happens so fast that you could never apprehend the object.
Exactly. Rejected because you wouldn't have an unbroken continuum of a sense direct perceiver, and the first moment of a sense direct perceiver would not be the direct cause of the second moment, and one moment is too short to see an object. An unbroken stream of sense direct perceiver is needed to know the subject.
Could you do a little bit slower for me? It's quite difficult if it's so fast.
How about I go slower on the next question?
Thank you.
Production of three types. The three, the second moment of a sense direct perceiver apprehending a form, the first moment of a mental direct perceiver apprehending that form, the apperceptive direct perceiver experiencing those two are produced simultaneously. 1 and 2 are directed outward, number 3 is directed inward. Why is that rejected?
It's infinite regression.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. Yeah, that's a good answer.
It's an apperception to look at the apperception, look at the apperception, to look at the apperception. Right?
It's rejected because you would actually have to have 4 direct perceivers. One that would be the sense direct perceiver, one that is the mental direct perceiver, another would be the apperception of a sense direct perceiver, and the other one would be the apperception of a mental direct perceiver. Good, so far so good. Production only at the end of a continuum. A mental direct perceiver apprehending a form is produced only at the end of the last moment of a sense direct perceiver apprehending a form. It makes a whole lot more sense when I'm just reading it. A whole stream of sense direct perceiving before one moment of mental direct perceiving. Mental direct perceiver on this occasion. After you have a stream of moments of a sense direct perceiver, then you have one moment of a mental direct perceiver of that sense object. After that, you may go into conceptual consciousness thinking of the object. Slower?
That happens so fast that we can't actually prove that.
That's true.
Influenced by scriptural authorities.
Okay. So the next one was the definition, those that are not indicated on this occasion. And what's the definition of that?
Mental direct perceivers
Or just
not indicated on this occasion are like clairvoyants.
They usually they can arise in the mind of an ordinary being through samadhi, deep meditation.
consciousnesses such as clairvoyance, which knows another's minds. These can be induced by states arisen from meditation. The 5 super knowledges, and these can be generated in a continuum of an ordinary being. So what are the 5 super knowledges?
Divine eye, divine ear,
Knowing past lives.
That's 3.
Multiple emanations, ability to magically emanate.
That's called clairaudience. That's 4. There's one more.
Yogic direct perceivers.
We had clairaudience, divine eye, divine ear, and you said knowing another's mind.
No, no other karma sentient beings.
Memory of previous.
Memory of previous lives. Yeah.
your own, I think.
Yep.
But knowing other people's minds, 2 separate.
That's a good one.
So, there are other types of consciousness which are not indicated on this occasion. What are they? She taught this. Sorry.
Oh, the
Sorry, folks, we have to speak up. Some people can't hear the answers.
Okay.
yeah.
Can you repeat them?
I'll try my best, yes.
Try to repeat it.
Yeah, I try to. Okay.
Apperceptions, yogic direct perceivers realizing subtle impermanence, and the karmic clairvoyance of bardo beings.
There are other types of consciousness, and these are yogic direct perceiver of subtle impermanence, apperception, and the karmic clairvoyance of bardo beings. But the bardo beings, they only perceive coarse but not subtle phenomena. So, yeah. True or false? To ordinary beings, mental direct perceivers on this occasion are inattentive and they are hidden phenomena.
Mental direct perceivers. No, true.
Well, I've got 2 answers here.
So say
Say it again slowly, please.
To ordinary beings, mental direct perceivers on this occasion are inattentive and they are hidden phenomena.
Didn't we just say that you could do that in the mind of ordinary beings?
It happens so fast, and it's a single.
Mental direct perceivers on this occasion.
Yeah, true.
True.
It's true. It's true.
Why is it true? It's true because
Because the mental direct perception happens so fast that an ordinary being cannot catch it. Yep.
and because the indicator on this occasion refers to mental direct perceivers.
Okay. So now, can you have more than one prime sense direct perceiver at one time? Yes, you can. But, what's the but?
Has to be a different consciousness.
Has to be a different sense. You cannot have 2 visual consciousnesses at the same time, and each one has its own object and its own set of 5 omnipresent factors. Okay. True or false? Sense perceptions are always direct.
True.
Okay. So, we're doing good. Now, okay.
You got there,
Hopefully enough. Okay, so it says, here is where I ask the homework question. I said, please bring to the teaching one incident where you had a direct sense perception after which a negative feeling was generated in your conceptual consciousness, and then you later discovered that that sense perception was different than what you had perceived. I will go first. What happened was that one day we were at lunch and I looked at the board really quick like. And it's like, great, there's nothing to eat. And I was so mad. And I got on the other side of the board and I looked at it and it was like, wow, this looks good. I give it a try. So I had it, and then I went back and sat down and I ate it all, and then I went back to the board and actually read what I had thought I had read, and it didn't say anything like what I had thought I had read. It was like, why was you so mad? So, so that was mine. So somebody else's?
Yesterday I went to
Microphone?
cabin.
Yep.
Yesterday I went to the cabin with Madri in my hand to bring her over, and there was a shadow from the building here, and I saw something. I didn't have the light with me, and it was quite dark, but went very slowly, and then the shadow moved, and I got really a shock. My heart beat because I thought somebody's in front of me, and then I moved myself and I realized it was a shadow.
It was who? It was
Her own shadow.
Scared of their own shadow.
Who else?
Oops. Unfortunately, this has happened more than once to me. So I'm in a parking lot, I'm looking for my car or someone's car that I'm driving, and I go to the car and I get the key out and I can't open the car door. And then I get really angry that there's something wrong with the lock or there's something wrong with the key, and then I realize that this is not my car at all.
Just give it to me.
He didn't get the homework. Someone else? Man, it was homework. You were supposed to do it. Or it was a polite request.
Yeah. So this is how I realized that perception wasn't so reliable. I listened to a message on my answering machine, and I got quite perturbed, or just I noted my reaction to it, and it was kind of negative. And then then I'd go back and listen to it later, and I couldn't hear in that voice what I heard the first time, because my mind was afflicted the first time, and so I was perceiving one thing in what I was hearing. And then when I went back and listened when my mind was calm, I perceived it completely differently. I also do this sometimes with our teachings.
Hopefully not this one. Anybody else?
Well, many times, I'm not going to come up there, maybe you can see it. Many times, I'll look at somebody's face and I'll think that they're frowning at me and create this whole big story. And then when I check it out with them later, it had nothing to do with me, and they were frowning.
So many times you look at somebody and they're frowning at you and you think they're frowning at you when actually they're thinking about something totally different, when you check it out later. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Lynn? Okay.
What about it?
What if you see a mirage and you think it's water and later you realize it isn't? Does that fit that?
But you didn't get mad.
Yeah, but you don't usually, yeah. Unless, of course, you're really thirsty.
Right.
Yeah.
The mirage is a physical thing.
Yeah, but it's a sense consciousness that you started off with, so you saw something, and then let's say you were thirsty, or you wanted to go boating.
Yeah. And you were stuck in traffic or in construction, and you couldn't get out and play in the water.
So I just remembered a time when I was, you can just repeat this actually, when I was learning how to sail a boat, and we were in the middle of the water, and the winds just stopped, and we were stuck there for a few hours. And then finally, someone was just like, "Oh, this is enough!" And he jumped into the water to pull the boat in, and the water was about to his knees.
So you were learning to sail,
Right.
and the wind stopped. The sailboat uses wind power, and you can't get any place.
We
So,
waited for hours.
so you waited for hours to.
Steaming or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was hot.
It was hot. Yeah, it was probably okay. When is this wind going to kick back in? And then finally somebody said enough of this and jumped in the water to pull the boat in and realized it was up to his knees.
Right.
Yeah, good. I like that. Okay, we'll go on.
That might have been a little bit of an inattentive.
Yeah. We were pretty far out too. It was just how far out were you? A long time. Yeah, man.
On a sandbar.
Maybe a half mile.
So we'll go on to apperceptive direct perceivers. What is the definition of an apperceptive mind?
Non-conceptual, unmistaken mind that has the aspect of an apprehender, directed inward, an aspect of consciousness directed inward that perceives another consciousness that's engaged with an object.
So how come I'm doing this and you're not? Okay, it's a consciousness that is non-conceptual, unmistaken, has the aspect of an apprehender, and everything that she said also. That is directed inward, that is perceiving the other consciousness, that is engaged with an object. It is a type of mental consciousness, but it's differentiated from the mental consciousness that's indicated on this occasion. It accompanies all other cognizers and gives you the ability to not just remember the object of that cognition, but to remember having it apprehended that object.
So you remember not just the object, but your
So you remember the experience of it, yeah. Okay. What is the apperceptive mind's function in the Sautantrika system?
What you just said, it's necessary to recall our experience, so it validates the sense experience.
And memory too. They say that memory happens because of apperception.
Right.
The Sautantrika say that apperception is necessary, otherwise there couldn't be memory. Because when we remember something, we remember not only the object, but we remember our contact with the object. So they say that apperception is necessary to remember our experience of that object. Other schools disagree.
You know what's funny about that?
There's a lot of things funny about that, but yeah, go ahead.
Experiential level, it's usually said, and I think if you look in your experience, it's kind of true. It's difficult to remember pain, the pain experience. A lot of times we remember
The feeling of the pain.
affective experience,
Yeah.
but it's actually rather difficult to remember the sense experience of it.
Or pleasure.
That's true, pleasure too.
Yeah.
This is why people have more than one child.
Should repeat that.
Venerable Sompton said that's why people have more than one child.
So I,
So we hear yes. Okay.
because you can't remember the pain or the pleasure.
You can ask.
Yeah, okay. Wondering.
Okay. Other schools disagree with this, and why do they disagree?
Because it's this infinite loop of continually recognizing your apperception, and then you have another apperception that recognizes that apperception, and another apperception that recognizes that apperception, and it can go on forever.
They say that you need an apperception to apprehend the initial consciousness, to certify it, and establish it as a valid consciousness. Then you need another consciousness to look at the apperception to validate that it's a correct consciousness. Then you need another consciousness to do the one that looked at the apperception to infinity and beyond. So yes. However, the Sattvatric, the Chittamadras have a different take on it. What's their take on it?
They say that this certifies the consciousness as truly existent.
Yep. The Chittamadras say that the apperception certifies the other consciousness as truly existent. So they assert that the consciousness is truly existent. How do you know that? Because the apperception certifies it as truly existent consciousness. It sounds like circular logic to me, but...
But I thought we just said the Chittamadras didn't assert an apperception.
And some other schools, the Prasangikars, don't like apperception. So, so we have a visual consciousness object. You have a visual consciousness that's seeing blue. The object is blue. And the apperception is the visual consciousness apprehending blue. True or false? Apperceptive consciousness are one nature with the consciousness that it is apprehending.
True.
True. It's non-dual. So far everything's been true. Cool. True or false? The apperceptive mind, which is non-dual with a conceptual mind, is a conceptual mind.
It is a direct perceiver.
Yours? You're my apperceptive mind. You're going to certify whether I'm doing this right.
Maybe ask the question again.
Yes, there you go.
The apperceptive mind, which is non-dual with a conceptual mind, is a conceptual mind. True or false?
Non-dual with the conceptual mind.
False.
It's false. Yep.
So the direct receiver of a conceptual consciousness,
Yep.
although non-dual,
Yes.
one nature.
Yes. Okay. When apperceptive direct perceivers are divided, there are three. What are they?
Everything but yogic.
Can we be a little bit more specific here? There are three.
Reliable cognizers, subsequent cognizers,
Yes.
for those to which an object appears but is not ascertained.
Yep. A prime, a subsequent, and inattentive. The apperception of a wrong consciousness is the same entity as that consciousness. It is a wrong consciousness. True or false?
You gotta repeat your question.
The apperception of a wrong consciousness is the same entity as that consciousness. It is a wrong consciousness. True or false? False. It's a direct perceiver.
It's perceiving that consciousness directly.
It's receiving a wrong consciousness. Right.
Just as the apperception of a conceptual consciousness is not a conceptual consciousness, even though it is one nature with that consciousness. So, it is not a wrong consciousness. The apperception of a sense direct perceiver is a mental direct perceiver. True or false?
True.
Say again?
The apperception of a sense direct perceiver is a mental direct perceiver. True or false?
True. I think it's true too. I can't remember why.
We define these things.
Non-perception.
Mental direct perceiver is different from apperception. They're both, when you divide it, if I'm remembering this right, didn't you divide mental or direct perceivers into four? Sense,
I only direct,
perceptive, and yogic.
that's a sense direct
That's a
perceiver.
sense direct perceiver.
A mental direct perceiver is divided into on this occasion, and are not indicated on this occasion and not indicated on this
And one of
occasion.
those not indicated as an apperception.
Right.
Right, that's right.
So, apperception is always a mental direct perceiver. It's time to play. So, true or false? An apperception of the first moment of an eye consciousness, apprehending blue, is both an apperception and a prime sense cognizer. Everybody agree?
It's not a sense cognition.
It can't be a prime sense cognitive.
Yeah.
It's a mental process.
The apperception of the first moment of an eye consciousness apprehending blue is both an apperception and a prime sense cognizer.
No.
Is that
It's
the
not a
mental
sense
direct
cognitive, it's a
perceiving?
mental perceiving.
But the eye consciousness apprehending blue is a prime sense, so it's true.
It's true.
Say that again. I wanted to cross-linking because I'm like that.
An apperception of the first moment of an eye consciousness apprehending blue is both an apperception and a prime sense cognizer.
You're talking about the apperception.
Yeah.
How can that?
Of the first moment
Yeah.
An apperception.
But the question is, you're saying the apperception of,
of a
right?
first moment of an eye consciousness. The first moment of an eye consciousness is a prime sense consciousness.
Right.
The apperception of it is also a prime sense consciousness.
Wasn't the last question the exact answer, it's just the opposite of that? That all apperceptions?
Apperception is, but the first moment of
Of a sense.
of an eye consciousness is a prime sense consciousness, prime sense
Right.
cognizer.
Because you can have more than one prime sense consciousness.
And they're non-dual. They happen at the same time. They are the same.
It's contradictory though.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like,
Well, then you need to take it up with venerable children.
Can we go back one question?
Go back a few, back to the one about
Because that's where I'm getting
consciousness.
cross-purpose from the
The
last.
apperception of a sense direct perceiver is a mental direct perceiver.
Say it again.
The apperception of a sense direct perceiver is a mental direct perceiver.
and we said that was true.
It's true. Apperception is always a mental direct perceiver.
And how can you say that if apperception is always a mental direct perceiver, how can you say it's a prime sense?
Sense direct.
It's the prime sense perceiver is the first moment of an eye consciousness.
Right.
The apperception of it,
About the apperception of it.
I'm asking about both.
No, your question is worded such that you're asking about the apperception, the way you have your question worded.
Okay. Well, let's go on. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
The second moment of a conceptual thought is neither an apperception nor a prime cognizer.
Say that again.
The second moment of a conceptual thought is neither an apperception nor a prime cognizer. True.
In South Tantric.
In South Tantric is right. The apperception of the second moment of an eye consciousness apprehending blue is an apperception, but not a prime cognizer. True or false?
True.
True.
It's a subsequent.
Yes.
Apperceptive subsequent cognizer?
The first moment of a conceptual thought is a prime cognizer and an apperception.
Say that again.
The first moment of a conceptual thought is a prime cognizer and an apperception.
False.
False. It's false. Because an apperception is a mental
It's something.
direct perceiver.
Apprehending the conceptual consciousness having the
Right.
conception.
The different
It's not-
options.
Okay, true or false? A direct perceiver can be either a correct or incorrect cognizer.
True.
True. Conceptual consciousness can be correct or incorrect cognizers. True or false? True. Okay, we're almost there. How is an apperceptive direct perceiver similar to a yogic direct perceiver?
Say that again.
Neither of them existed.
It was on the quiz, okay?
Has an observed object condition.
How is an apperceptive direct perceiver similar to a yogic direct perceiver?
They both do not have an observed object condition.
They both don't
And
have
they're
those.
not
A yogic direct perceiver doesn't have
An observed object.
An observed object condition?
Well, if it realizes selflessness, it has no, because selflessness does not appear to that yogic
But
direct.
I think that's that one specific thing.
Impermanence was an example that also, so
Yeah.
wasn't that only?
Right.
It says, our perceptions also do not have observed objective conditions because the observed objective condition is the appearance of the likeness of the object. To
Right.
our perceptions, there's no likeness, therefore no casting its aspect onto the consciousness.
So a yogic direct perceiver has an observed object, but it does not have an observed
The
object.
condition.
But I think that's only in those very specific places, when they're observing selflessness, or impermanence.
What else is a
What else is
yogic
there
direct perceiver looking at?
Yeah.
What else is a yogic direct perceiver?
Well, does clairvoyance count as a yogic direct perception?
No.
I think those are the only two things.
Well, no, they're both mental direct perceivers,
I don't think that could be true.
and they're both not indicated on this occasion.
She had in her notes that they both do not have the observed object
Yeah, that
condition, they
was
have the
very
observed
clear.
object.
Yeah, but I only had it when they were apprehending the selflessness of a person, or when they were apprehending impermanence.
Boy, I got it as a general thing, and these are the two,
Right, I think we need to,
these are two examples, so
Yeah.
we should look at that. Yeah.
okay. So we did that.
Explain that again? Those two have an object, but they don't have an observed object condition.
Right.
I don't have that as one of my answers, so that would be hard put for me to answer that.
Selflessness does not appear to that yogic direct perceiver.
What's your answer then?
Oh.
Start over.
They are both mental direct perceivers, and they are both not indicated on this occasion.
Bag term.
And not
Seems a little
indicated?
cheap.
Yeah.
Not indicated on this.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, we'll look at that one. Okay, so what are yogic direct perceivers?
That's Venerable Jigman.
Let me read this for you. It's a non-conceptual, unmistaken, exalted knower in the continuum of an arya that is produced from a meditative stabilization, that is a union of serenity and insight, and that has become its own uncommon, empowering condition.
It is a non-conceptual, unmistaken, exalted knower in the continuum of an arya that is produced from a meditative concentration, that is the union of serenity and insight, and that has become its own uncommon, empowering condition.
It doesn't seem to require that it is meditating on selflessness.
Yeah.
It seems that it is meditating on
The Four Noble
self-impermanence.
Truths.
Yeah, the Four Noble
And that,
Truths, or-
yeah, that's true.
So it seems to me it would have to have an object then.
Right?
Not that it doesn't have an object.
Observed object
Doesn't have an
condition.
Observed object condition. We need to look that up. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's becoming its own
Uncommon, empowering condition.
which is the term that we use for like sense powers.
Powers.
Right.
So then now you have 7 sense powers instead of 6.
Don't co-
On the yogi.
Don't confuse me, I'm confused enough as it is.
Is that correct? Does an aria have 7, 8, 9, 10, 12?
A yogic direct perception is always mental. You
Right.
see.
Right.
So that's the
But it's
sixth.
becoming its
Yes.
own uncommon empowering condition,
Right.
is the definition, correct?
Right.
Which means that it's different from a mental direct or mental direct perceiver.
It's a mental direct perceiver.
Has its own empowering sense power, which is the previous moment of mental consciousness.
Right.
I mean, it's the meditate, it's the union of serenity and insight that's become the uncommon empowering
Right.
condition.
Yeah.
Not the selflessness, not the realizing self.
Right.
Right.
That would be the object.
So it's a special kind of mind that is gained through meditation, and they are correct cognizers, which answers one question.
The mental power.
Sense power.
It's called the mental power, but it's different because that one is the union of serenity and insight.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing, the mental problem. Like,
Okay.
I would say it's your...
That's why Venerable John Paul is asking whether there's more than 6.
Right. Well,
Power
it's saying
sense
it's
powers.
becoming its own.
I see why. Well, that's why they put it under the mental eye.
So, when yogic direct perceivers are divided, they are divided into 3. What are they?
Here's solitary.
Terry realizes and... Yep. So here is someone aspiring for arhatship. Solitary realizer is someone aspiring for arhatship, but they appear in the last lifetime when there is no Buddha and attain their enlightenment in that kind of situation. And the bodhisattvas are aiming for full Buddhahood. Yogic direct perceivers can also be divided according to their entity. What does that mean?
Is that referring to what they're directly realizing?
It refers actually to the past.
That's the same meditation in our room.
Yes. And they can also be divided according to their aspect, the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, because these aspects are what the yogic direct perceivers apprehend. Okay. So,
Venerable Sultan, did you do number 16?
what was number
What
16?
are feelings associated with sense consciousness and what feelings are associated with conceptual ones, and really learn to tell the difference in your mind?
Was there a question in there?
Well, it's fun to feel what people actually,
Well, that's why I put that homework in there, so you could get the feeling. So we got feelings and needs.
look at it very differently. Huh.
Well, what did you have?
Well, I was just kind of trying to discern what feelings associated with sense consciousness as I have appear to be pleasant, unpleasant in a simple, clear way. When I just look at a sky and watch it as it changes without a description or evaluation, just bear attention, the feeling that arises matches the sense data. When I embellish this experience with thoughts about the sky or what it evokes, or how it reminds me of this or that, the conceptual mind makes the experience more exaggerated or complicated, and afflictions tend to arise rather than just the sense consciousness.
Here, here.
So that's what it was helpful for me to, because Venerable keeps saying this is where we get into our wrong consciousness, is that we can't tell the sense direct perception from the conceptual.
Especially when our mind starts running away before we even realize that it's going. Yeah. Okay. We're almost done. So.
So can we go back to number 12? What is the prime direct perceiver of a familiar object? What is an initial direct perceiver?
Sure.
Can we go back to that again?
Okay. A prime sense direct perceiver of a familiar object doesn't need any other consciousness to identify its object. She didn't expound on this too much. She said, an example of this is a baby who doesn't have labels and yet knows its parent just from an auditory direct sense perception or a visual sense perception.
Okay.
That'd be all sense perceptions prior to the mind interacting with them? Because all sense perceptions are direct, correct?
Right.
Would they all be prime and direct?
What'd you say?
Well,
Only in Satantrika's system.
right, they wouldn't all be
That
prime.
it doesn't need any other consciousness to realize the object, like a baby doesn't have any labels yet, but knows its parents by just the sound of their voice or looking at their faces.
And
Then an initial direct perceiver?
you had to ask. I don't have these labeled. Oh, here we go. An initial direct perceiver can identify generally an object, but needs more information to make a more specific identification of that object.
Oh, that was one about Harry, meeting Harry in town, right? Okay.
When you have more information, then you can know the object. Are there any further questions? Sure.
Hey,
Well, in that case, and just about 7, I think I can call this a night, call it quits. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much.